What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Figures of Sport podcast. You're here with your host, Brandon. And guys, we've got a really good episode for you this week. I'm super excited to jump into this one. Man, so we got some NBA to talk about. We've got some NFL to talk about. But you guys know, before we even get to that, we are going to first and foremost ask you guys to do us one huge favor. Like this video and subscribe to the channel because you guys know that it means the absolute world to us when you guys do that. Obviously, I've been saying it for the last few weeks now. We are so close to 100 subscribers, guys, and it would mean the absolute world if you could please share this with your friends, your family, or your coworkers. If you just share this with 3 other people, before I was asking for 5, this time I'm asked for 3 other people. Just share this with 3 other people, and we will be able to reach our goal of 100 subscribers that much faster. Guys, we've got a good episode in store for you this week. And honestly, let me tell you, we've got NBA talk. We've got some NFL stuff to talk about. No baseball. We're gonna probably wait until we have some really big moves to really discuss. Before we bring back baseball. But for now, we're going to focus on the NBA and the NFL. Obviously, the NFL, things are getting really good, and the NBA is picking up some steam as well. But, guys, before we get into any of that, the first thing I need to tell you guys is this is the Thanksgiving. This episode is coming out during the week of Thanksgiving. So just want to say that we here at the Figures of Sport podcast are very thankful for all of the support that we get from you guys taking the time out of your days or your weeks to watch these episodes. So we really appreciate you for doing that and listening to a couple of guys ramble on about a bunch of things every single week. So it means a lot to us that you guys take the time to do that. So for that, we are very thankful for you guys this week. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody, to your friends, your family, everybody around you. I hope you guys have a great week and a great Thanksgiving for sure. So, without further ado, though, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to jump straight in and we are going to talk about the NBA. Now, a couple things that I wanted to talk about for the NBA really quickly. The Detroit Pistons. We talked about them last week, but right now their win streak is up to 13. They are 15-2. Guys, what a hell of a start by this team who just a couple years ago only won a total of 14 games. Just a crazy change in the culture in Detroit. Obviously, this is a big change for them, and you know, it just goes to show that sometimes you know, letting some of those young pieces develop together, especially, and you know, growing as one unit, it can really help out. And then, of course, adding those supplemental pieces in veterans like the Tobias Harris edition. Last year was the Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway. Those are things that are very crucial to a young team's development, and we are seeing that now. Now, the Pistons are 15-2, right? They have tied the 1990 and the 2004 teams for the longest win streaks, or matched that win streak in from those teams from those respective seasons. But guess what? Both of those teams won a title. Now, that kind of leads me into this next question for you guys, and it makes me wonder, what are your realistic expectations for this Detroit Pistons team? Obviously, number 1 in the Eastern Conference at 15-2, but is this something that they can sustain? Obviously, winning at this clip is probably not sustainable, but the winning in general, like, can they continue to be a very good team throughout the rest of the season? But the question here is, what are your realistic expectations? Do you think that this team can make the Eastern Conference Finals? Can they make the NBA Finals? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. So please let me know in the comments below, whether that's here on YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Now, moving over to the Western Conference real quick, giving you guys an update there. The Thunder keep rolling, man. They are 17-1. And the only question I have for you is, this is being done without Jalen Williams in the lineup. when Jalen Williams joins this lineup, can this team reach 70 wins? Would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that one. Now, couple other things that I wanted to highlight as we talk about the NBA, but there's been a couple teams that have come out to really, really good starts so far, and it's kind of come as a bit of a shock. One of them being the Toronto Raptors. They're 13-5. I know when Brandon Ingram was traded there's a lot of questions if that would be a solid fit. Obviously with RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, and now Brandon Ingram there, and of course Emmanuel Quickly. A lot of people had some questions about the fit there, but these guys are moving the ball well. I think all of them are averaging about 4 or 5 assists a game, and all of them are scoring at a nice rate. So that's a team that's really surprised me through the first, 18 games of the season for them, and it's been very refreshing to see. And another team that has been really solid has been the Miami Heat. They are 12-6, and that's mostly without Tyler Hero. The addition of Norman Powell has been huge for them. I think that's going to be a really, really solid addition for them throughout this season. And to be completely honest with you, it makes me bring up the next question for you guys. Does having the luxury of now having a Norman Powell allow the Miami Heat to potentially explore moving a guy like Tyler Hero, who maybe they can get a long-term star caliber type of point guard there? That would be something interesting. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that one as well. Now, some teams that have had some higher expectations and have had disappointing starts to the season. I've got a few on this list, and surprisingly, all 4 of them are in the Western Conference. The Golden State Warriors, they're 10-9. I understand that Curry has missed 5 games and Butler has missed 3, but this is a team that, with the addition of Jimmy Butler, I really did expect them to really have a competitive season, and again, it's early. They're 19 games in, but it's just something that I was definitely having a little bit higher hopes and expectations for them. So to see them struggle to start the season does raise some questions. Now, the next team is the LA Clippers. They are 5-12. OKC also owns their first round pick this year, so the rich will get richer if this continues for the LA Clippers. I think the Kawhi Leonard situation with him constantly missing games and in and out of the lineup, it really, really ruins their chemistry, and they are not able to kind of get a consistent rhythm. It does seem like James Harden, every week you're going to see him have at least 40-point game, maybe, because he has to do that because, some of the other guys that team is built around Kawhi Leonard and James Harden, not just a James Harden, right? So it makes things a little bit difficult when Kawhi is constantly out, affecting the team rhythm and chemistry. So that just brings up that question for me. Do you guys think that maybe for the LA Clippers, is it time to consider trading Kawhi Leonard or James Harden? And I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that one as well. Now, the Dallas Mavericks are 5-14. Obviously, this season has not been good for them to start so far. Obviously Nico Harrison got fired, and Mark Cuban, I guess, is back in the fold and helping out with basketball operations. A lot of rumors that they were going to potentially trade Anthony Davis. He came out and shut that down. I don't think they should at all, especially because of the fact that you just traded Luka Doncic for him. So I don't think that would be the best idea within, 30 to 40 games of having Anthony Davis on your roster, whether he's played those 30 or 40 games or not. But having him on that roster is going to be something crucial because of the fact that they traded Luka Doncic for him. So I don't see him going anywhere, at least right now. But at 5-14, the Mavericks, I understand that Kyrie was hurt, but I think there was very high expectations for a team that has a PJ Washington, a Derek Lively, a Daniel Gafford, a Klay Thompson, an Anthony Davis, a Cooper Flagg, D'Angelo Russell. Having those guys, you would at least consider that this team would be a lot more competitive. But this team has struggled mightily, and honestly, Cooper Flagg has struggled immensely through the first 20 games of his career as well. So it'll be interesting to see if Dallas can somehow bounce back. And I think there was a lot of speculation that Kyrie Irving was probably going to be out for the rest, for the full entirety of the season. But I think if it, realistically, I had always thought that if he was fully healthy and they were in position to compete for the playoffs, that he would return. But if this continues, I can almost guarantee that Kyrie Irving will not return this season to the Dallas Mavericks. But hopefully things can pick up over in Dallas. And the last team that has had a disappointing start and maybe not had the highest of expectations, but at least with the talent on the roster, there was higher expectations, I should say. And it's the Sacramento Kings. 5-13 with a roster that's headlined by Domantas Sabonis, Zach LaVine, and DeMar DeRozan. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really shock me as much because of the fact that we kind of know how this team works out. Because just a couple of years ago, the Chicago Bulls had a very similar rendition of that same exact team with Vucevic, DeMar, and Zach LaVine. So it doesn't really surprise me in a sense that this team isn't working, especially in the Western Conference. But it does make me bring up the question, at some point this season, who do you think that the Sacramento Kings should trade? Is it DeMar? Is it Zach? Or is it Sabonis? Would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that one as well. Now, the last thing I want to talk about before we jump into some of the NFL talk is that while this is early on in the season, we might be seeing one of the best and most exciting MVP races that we've seen over the last couple of years. I know the last 2 years especially has really been a two-headed race between Jokic and SGA. But this year, I think things might change because we've got Giannis, we've got SGA, we've got Jokic, and we've got Luka, who are all putting up incredible numbers this season. SGA is averaging 32 points, almost 5 rebounds, and almost 7 assists this season. Jokic is averaging almost 30 points, about 13 rebounds, and 11 assists. Giannis is averaging 31 points, almost 11 rebounds, and almost 7 assists. Excuse me. And then Luka is averaging almost 35 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. Guys, this is going to be a very, very fun season. And I think going down the stretch, we are going to see these guys compete at such high levels that, through the first 20 games, I can't even tell you who my favorite is. I'd probably have to lean towards SGA just because of the team's performance and the fact that he's performed so good and putting up those numbers without playing in a majority of the fourth quarters that he's been involved in. So it's going to be fun. I'm very excited for the NBA season this year. I just think sometimes when it comes to the NBA, the first couple of months are always overshadowed by the NFL because by the time NBA starts, you're kind of midway through the NFL season. So it's a little bit more I feel like also it takes teams some time in the NBA to really kind of, get things going. And in the NFL, every single week counts a lot more. So, but yeah, guys, we're not going to forget about the NBA. I'm very excited about a lot of the stuff that we've got to talk about this season so far, with so much more in store for the NBA. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to shift over into the football talk. And I want to preface, George, unfortunately, is not going to be here this week. So it will be just me to talk some of these topics. So unfortunately, we will not be doing the 2-minute warning segment. But maybe I can ask you guys some of those questions. You guys can let me know in the comments below. So we'll see how things are going in this episode, and I think that might be how I want to do it this week by myself. Now, some of the top storylines going into week 13, actually, we're going to talk about some of the top storylines going into week 13. And one of the main things is that Joe Burrow is set to return this week. He was questionable this past week against the Patriots, but it looks like he is most likely going to be back on Thursday for the night game against the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm super excited for that game because of the fact that not only is it Thanksgiving, but we are going to be getting the return of Joe Burrow on Thursday Night Football to end our Thanksgiving. Very excited. Hopefully he does play, but it does look like all signs are pointing to him returning on Thursday. Now, the next thing I want to highlight is that Omarion Hampton's practice window has been opened by the Chargers. He was placed on IR, so that means he has 21 days to be activated from IR. Now, the thing is, just because it's been open does not mean he is going to return this week. I could see it happening, although I am not entirely sure. He would have to obviously start practicing. He's going to have to start practicing this week, and we'll have to keep an eye on if he can log some full practices by Friday to see if he will be good to go on Sunday. But that is something to keep an eye on. And this past week, week 12, man, we had 3 overtime games, and they were all really, really exciting. The Chiefs Colts game was solid. I enjoyed watching that. I can't wait until George comes back, so we can talk a little bit more, maybe in depth, on how important that game was, and if it answered some of the questions that he and I have had all season long about the Colts. And then the Jaguars-Cardinals game was really solid. I really enjoyed watching that game. Very, very back and forth. And the Cardinals are a feisty team. They put up a lot of points over the last couple of weeks. I mean, I know they had a stinker against San Fran a couple of weeks ago, I believe, where they only scored 22 points. But at the end of the day, I think that was a really solid game, and I'm glad that did end up going into overtime. But then the other game with the Lions and Giants, man, I was rooting so loud for the Giants that game. That was a hell of a game, though. Jameis hitting his little moves in the end zone. I mean, the guy, I cannot wait until that guy's career is over. I hope he plays more, right? But I cannot wait until his career is over and we get to see so much more of him, maybe in broadcasting, because the guy is must-watch TV every time he's on the field. I love watching Jameis Winston play. And they should have won that game. I'll be completely honest with you. They should have won that game. Very, very disappointed that they were not able to close out that game. And it sucks because, especially as a Bears fan, it would have meant so much if they were able to secure that win and just lengthen the lead in the division for the Chicago Bears. But I'll take it at 8-3 for the Chicago Bears. But anyway, again, overtime games are always fun because it means things are really close and competitive and exciting. So I really enjoyed those 3 games for sure this past week. Now, real quick, and I'm going to highlight this to George as well, but I have to do it now just because it's what I had to do, right? So I really quickly just want to talk about the predictions. We make our predictions every single week, and I think George and I he brought it up, and he said that he wanted to kind of make it more of a competition, I guess, to see at the end of the year or after every week who has the most correct predictions. So I just have to highlight real quick before we talk about the week 13 predictions. I just had to highlight that I did the math, right? And there's been some weeks where I've done predictions by myself. So to make things fair, I completely took those out. Completely took out the weeks where I made predictions by myself. I only went back and recorded all of the responses from the same weeks that George was here on the podcast. So, the overall records, in my weekly NFL predictions, the wins and losses, I am 90, 42, and 1. The one tie, obviously, being the Green Bay and the Dallas game early on in the season. And then George is 78, 54, and 1. So right now, I have the crown, and obviously, this is going to remain this way through week 13, and we'll kind of get back after week 14 as we as we get back, George, hopefully next week, and then we can make our week 14 predictions, and then we'll revisit that as we talk about the week 14 action in the following episode. So. But guys, 90, 42, and 1 for me, and 78, 54, and 1 for George. I wear the crown right now, and we'll see if he can catch up over the next few weeks. But without further ado, we are going to jump straight in, and we're going to talk about the week 13 predictions, guys. So here we are going to highlight some of these games. Thanksgiving. We've got 3 games on Thanksgiving, like I said, and some of these are going to be really, really exciting matchups. Thanksgiving, I'm going to go the first game, Green Bay and Detroit. I'm going to say Detroit wins this game to get their lick back from that first matchup against the Green Bay Packers where they really kind of shut things down. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Cowboys, I'm going to pick the Chiefs here because the Chiefs are in desperation mode and need to win every single game that they possibly can. So we're going to roll with the Chiefs. The Bengals and the Ravens, I'm going to pick the Bengals this game. T. Higgins might be out, but I think the Bengals need this game a lot. And Lamar Jackson has not been performing to his expectations over the last 3 weeks. So I'm going to say that the Bengals can squeak this game out here to end Thanksgiving. Now, the Black Friday game, the Chicago Bears and the Philadelphia Eagles. This is the first time I've said this all season long, but I am going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles here. I know there's a lot of question marks about this Eagles offense, especially after they just collapsed a 21-0, or their defense as well, I guess, after they collapsed and allowed a 21-0 comeback for the Dallas Cowboys. But I just think that this is going to be, especially in Philly, this is going to be a get-right game for the Eagles. They got to get back on track here, and eventually the Bears kind of have to come down. They've been riding such a huge high, and it sucks to say because I would love to see the Chicago Bears win this game, but unfortunately, I have to be a little realistic, and I'm going to say that the Philadelphia Eagles win this game. Next up, the Rams and the Panthers. Give me the Rams. Niners and the Browns. Give me the Niners in a game that's probably closer than a lot of people think. The Texans and the Colts. Give me the Colts here. I think that's going to be a big game, especially it's a divisional matchup. Next up, the Saints and the Dolphins. Give me the Dolphins here. The Falcons and the Jets. Give me the Falcons. The Bucks and the Cardinals. The Bucks were 6-2. Now they're 6-5. Things are not looking great, but I'm going to say that they can get back on track this week. Give me the Bucks. Jaguars and Titans. Give me the Jags. Vikings and Seahawks. Give me the Seahawks here. And the Chargers and the Raiders. Give me the Chargers here. The Bills and the Steelers. Give me the Bills. I think they need to win bad. And Sunday Night Football, we've got the Broncos and the Commanders. Give me the Broncos. Monday Night Football, we've got the Patriots and the Giants. Give me the Patriots. We're going to take the Patriots to end this week off. All right, guys, that was our Week 13 predictions. Let us know in the comments below if you agree with our picks or if you disagree. Would love to hear your thoughts. Now, we're going to move on and we're going to talk about the current playoff outlook, guys. Last week, we introduced this topic here, the current playoff outlook. There was a couple small changes here. Obviously, most of them were probably because some teams were on bye. For example, the Broncos last week were, I believe, the number 1 seed, and now they are technically the number 2 seed in the AFC because of the fact that they were on bye last week. So we're going to start with the AFC side of things. Right now, the current matchups would be the Patriots get the bye. The Broncos would, at the 2 seed, play the Buffalo Bills, who have now dropped to the 7 seed. Then the Colts at 3 would play the Jaguars at 6. The Ravens at 4 would play the Chargers at 5. Now, I believe, let me just confirm. I'm going to pull that up. Now, last week, we had, let's see, we're going to pull that up, like I said. So last week, we had the Chargers were at 6. The Ravens were out of the picture entirely, but now they have moved into 4th. So at 6 and 5, they now are the division leaders of the AFC North at 6 and 5, and tied with the Steelers. But I believe they have not yet played against each other. They have not yet played against each other. That will come in week 14. So things are tightening up over there. But for now, the Ravens are number 4. If they had to play today, if the playoff or the season ended today and these teams had to play this weekend, I'm going to take the Broncos in that Buffalo Bills matchup. A couple years ago, last year, I believe, the Bills played the Broncos and put belt to ass. I don't see that happening this year. I think that Broncos defense is just way too good, and the Bills are way too inconsistent. I would take the Broncos in that one. The Colts and the Jaguars, that would be a really, really interesting one, especially because of the fact that it is a divisional matchup. And they have not yet played each other just yet. That'll happen in their first matchup will be in Jacksonville week 14. So, but it's tough. I would probably say that I'm going to lean to the Indianapolis Colts. And then at the 4-5 matchup, I'm going to go with Baltimore. The Chargers are way, way too banged up on the offensive line, and they can't protect Justin Herbert at all. So for that reason and that reason alone, I'm going to lean towards the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens would then play the Patriots. I would probably take the Patriots in that matchup. And then lower the other divisional matchup would be between the Broncos and the Colts. I would take the Broncos there. And then for the AFC Championship, it would probably be between the Patriots and the Broncos. And as we said last week, I'm going to stay with that same pick. I'm going to roll with the Broncos there. Now, on the other side, the NFC right now, things swapped out a little bit. The Rams would be the number 1 seed and receive the bye. So they swap places with the Philadelphia Eagles. The Rams would get the bye. The Eagles would then face the Niners. In that matchup, I would be taking the Eagles. The 3-6 matchup, the Bears against the Packers. I know George last week said that he would take the Packers. I'm still going to go with the Chicago Bears. I think right now they are winning games that are close, that are gritty. I mean, guys are injured and they're still able to win games. It's a different culture there, and I think playing the Packers, especially in the playoffs, would mean that much more to that organization. So I, for that reason especially, would take the Chicago Bears. And then the 4-5 matchup, going to be so crazy if this is kind of similar to how the playoff picture lays out, because the fact that the Seahawks are the 5 seed and they're probably going to finish with double-digit wins is crazy, right? Very similar to last year's Vikings team, also led by Sam Darnold. But I would definitely be taking the Seahawks in that matchup for sure. Then when we come down to the second round, the divisional round, it would be the Eagles and the Bears. And that, if things kind of went how I picked them. Now, it depends how things are looking, right? But that Eagles defense is legit. And by that point, they could possibly be clicking on offense. I would pick the Eagles in that again. And then the Seahawks would face off against the Rams in the divisional round. I think the Seahawks are a great team. I just think the Rams are an even better team. So for that reason, I would pick the Rams. Rams and Eagles would then face off in the AFC or the NFC Championship game. I'm going to lean with the Rams this time. And then it would be a matchup between the Broncos and the Rams. And in that matchup, I would pick the LA Rams to win the Super Bowl this year. And those are my picks on the current playoff picture heading into week 13 of the NFL, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this one as well. Would love to hear you guys' thoughts. And if you guys agree with me, let me know. If you guys disagree or you think some of these matchups might go a different way, let me know in the comments below. Would love to hear that. Now, we're going to introduce a new topic. I'm going to do this solo this week, send it over to George and kind of see what his thoughts are on this too. But I also would love to hear your guys' thoughts. So we're going to introduce this segment called the Power Five, right? The Power Five here. We're going to pick the 5 best teams in the NFL through the first 12 weeks, right? So this is the Power Five. Got a graphic for you guys. Here we go. Figures of Sport Podcast, Power 5. At number 1, we've got the LA Rams. At number 2, we've got the Seattle Seahawks. At number 3, we've got the New England Patriots. At number 4, we've got the Denver Broncos. And at number 5, we've got the Philadelphia Eagles. So let me explain to you kind of how we came to this. I guess from my perspective, I'm going to say that the Rams are probably the most complete team offensively, defensively. They've got it all right there. The Seahawks, kind of similar tier with them. Very, very solid offensively, obviously, and then very solid defensively. I just think the only thing that the Rams probably have a little bit better than the Seahawks is just a more threatening running game. Kyren Williams, he can kind of at some points dominate. He's a guy that he's going to be hard to take down sometimes, and you can give him the ball 20 times a game. And sometimes on the Seahawks, it just doesn't seem like their running game is always as consistent. Obviously there's going to be some games where Kenneth Walker is going to have a good workload, and then other times where Zach Charbonnet is. So that's kind of the only thing there. The Patriots, another very balanced, complete team. They maybe aren't the most, they don't excel on one side more than the other. I think the offense is really solid, and I think the defense is really solid. Overall, a very, very good complementary football team. The offense complements the defense complements the offense, and I think they're winning games. So for that reason, because of those complementary parts of their game, I think that's why they are the 3rd best team in the NFL. Denver Broncos are number 4. They have one of the best defenses in the league, probably a top 2 defense. Honestly, I would maybe top 3. I would probably say that the Eagles defense and the Texans defense are the only other teams that give them a run for their money. And they're doing this over the last few weeks without Pat Surtain. But the only thing that kind of holds them back is their offense a little bit, especially losing J.K. Dobbins for the rest of the season, at least regular season, not having him, their leading rusher. It does kind of hurt things. They have R.J. Harvey there, but still. And then just a lot of inconsistencies in the pass game with Bo Nix. So that is why they are number 4 on this list. And the Philadelphia Eagles are number 5 for us. And the reason we have them at 5 is because a lot of the things that these other teams have, the Philadelphia Eagles do not. I guess what I guess would maybe put the Broncos ahead of them is the fact that their defense, in my opinion, is a little bit better than the Philadelphia Eagles defense, right? But the Eagles offense is very inconsistent. There's weeks where, this past week, we just saw Saquon Barkley have 22 rushing yards on 10 attempts. Jalen Hurts had to throw the ball. The defense collapsed. And, maybe before this week, if we started this segment last week, they would be number 3 or number 4. But their offense is way too inconsistent here. It has to get cleaned up really, really soon, because I think this is a team that they're not in jeopardy of losing the division, but they are in jeopardy of kind of maybe losing their identity. So it is going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out. And as a Bears fan, it's very, very upsetting that we are coming to Philadelphia to play them on Black Friday after they just collapsed this past week against the Cowboys. So very excited for that one. But that is the Power Five, the Figures of Sport podcast, Power Five, guys. Let us know if you guys like this segment where we kind of talk about the best teams in the NFL, in our opinion, and give you guys a good understanding of how we're thinking that way and why we're thinking that way. Now, we are going to talk, guys. I can bring it back real quick, but I guess I'll pose this more as questions for you, the viewers, to let me know your thoughts on. So we're going to go rapid fire, guys. I'm going to give you my thoughts real quick, then pose the question for you. Here we go. 2-minute warning. Is Stafford the clear MVP? Yes. No other answer. It's Matthew Stafford. He hasn't thrown a pick since week 3. It's Matthew Stafford. That's for sure. Now, what do you guys think? I know Drake May has had a good season, and obviously there's still the Jonathan Taylor truthers out there. But I think after this past week, I think it's Stafford's award to lose. But if you think differently, let us know. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Next, should we be worried that Lamar Jackson has been held to under 200 passing yards for 3 games in a row? And on top of that, he has looked like a shell of himself running the ball. Should we be worried about Lamar Jackson? I'm going to lean that I'm a little bit worried about him. And we're going to talk about him a little bit more once we kind of talk about fantasy real quick. But a little worried about him. I got some questions. But, there's been games where he doesn't throw for 200 yards, but I think the fact that he doesn't look as healthy running the ball anymore and being mobile is what scares me even more, not the passing yards. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Now, I asked this question to George last week about a different team, and he was stumped. But I got a question for you guys, and it's a very simple question. And it is, are the Buffalo Bills frauds? And I'm going to say, I love Josh Allen. One of my favorite players in the NFL to watch. But I'm going to say, yeah. They don't have a chance to compete in the playoffs. I at this point, I just don't think so. That defense is not good. That Texans defense, I know, is incredible. Because, they had Josh Allen panicked for almost that entire game. But I just think that defense for the Buffalo Bills cannot stop anybody. And it's so crazy because just a couple of weeks ago, they were able to shut down the Chiefs. And then, you allowed 32 points and you kind of win in a shootout against the Bucs, but you get blown out by Buffalo. You can't score against the Texans, and you can't stop the Texans from scoring either. I just think this is a team that they're going to make the playoffs, but I just think that we definitely aren't going to see a deep run from this team. I just think there's too many teams that have a better chance to perform well in the playoffs. I think that first round matchup right now, if the playoffs ended today with the Buffalo Bills, them facing the Broncos, I think there's a couple things. The defense, obviously, for the Broncos is lethal. And then on top of that, the revenge factor from last year's matchup in the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think I said, yeah, they're fraudulent, but, I just think there's so many question marks about this team. It's hard to believe whether they're legit or not. But if I had to really pick, I'm going to say they're not a legit threat to win a Super Bowl this season. That's for sure. But if you guys think differently, let me know in the comments below. Now, the next one, are the Bucs fraudulent? Started the season 6-2, very hot. Everything was looking good. Since then, have lost 3 straight. Now in jeopardy of even potentially losing the division to the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are 6-6. The Bucs are 6-5. I mean, guys, it would be insane. I don't see it happening, but it would be insane. But I'm gonna say that the Bucs aren't necessarily frauds here. I think the big thing is Baker's hurt, and I'm not talking about the Sunday night football injury where he hurt his left shoulder. I think Baker is actually hurt. He just has not looked himself over the last few weeks. And I know a lot of people are worried about like Emeka Egbuka, especially fantasy players, right? But I don't think it's an Emeka Egbuka issue. I think it's a Baker Mayfield issue. That's why the Bucs have been struggling. He's clearly injured. He's not 100%. He's not as accurate as he was to start the season. So he's battling something. I'm not sure what it is, but he's battling something, and it's kind of hurting the team. But yeah, I'm gonna say that the Bucs aren't necessarily fraudulent. I'm just gonna say that Baker is very much hurt, and it's causing them to lose a lot of games. But yeah, now the next. So to that question, let me know your thoughts. We'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that one as well. Are the Bucs frauds? Now the next question. What coach, in your opinion, has the hottest seat? Is it Sean McDermott, Zach Taylor, Raheem Morris, Pete Carroll, or is it someone else? Let me know in the comments, guys. Would really love to hear your thoughts. Or, again, as I said, if it's someone else, write in the comments. Tell me. Let me know why you think that way. Would love to read those comments because we always read and reply to those comments, whether it's here on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. We reply everywhere. Now, the last question I have for this 2-minute warning segment before we move over to fantasy is the drama surrounding the Eagles going to cost them their chance at winning a Super Bowl? I'm going to say no. Because we've seen over the last couple of years since A.J. Brown is there, he's had his outbursts where he demands the ball and he says how they should be throwing him the ball, whatever. He's his playmaker, get him the ball. He's going to do things. Okay, understandable. Every single top wide receiver wants to have the ball so they can make impact plays, right? But so because of that, we've seen it before. I'm going to say no. But I do think that they are potentially losing their identity, right? Like last year, they created an identity that they were, or over the last couple of years in general, actually, we should say, behind that offensive line, they've been a run-first team, right? They cannot get the run going. Like Saquon Barkley, I get it. After the season he had last year, he wasn't gonna perform what he did last year. That was obvious, right? Everybody knows that. That's a lot of touches for a running back to have in a full season and then to come back and replicate it, right? But the schemes and the offense just does not look to be the same this year at all. I get there was an offensive coordinator change and things like that, but there is no true identity for this team. Like you can say on offense, at least right now, the Philadelphia Eagles, when you look at them, they are a defensive first team right now. And that is not kind of what you thought before. You always knew they had a good defense, but you always knew that on the other side of the ball, you've got Saquon from last year. You've got A.J. Brown, you got Devontae Smith, you got Dallas Goedert, and obviously you got Jalen Hurts, and you got an incredible offensive line. This year, it just seems like they are a very one-sided team. And on top of that, they are a very much a first-half team. They don't score. It seems like they don't score well in the second half at all. I would love to pull up those stats, but I mean, it's kind of crazy. So when it comes to this team, I don't think it's going to cost them a Super Bowl necessarily, but I do think that the fact that they are losing their identity, and as we get into week 13 of the NFL season, not being able to kind of know that they can rely on at least one thing offensively week in and week out is something that does worry me about this team. But would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Now we're going to move on and we're going to talk about some fantasy football stuff really quickly. Not going to hold you guys for too long here. But got a couple waiver wire targets. I know it's week 13, so there who's left on the waiver wires, right? But for week 13, I've got 3 guys. One of them is going to be Jaden Higgins, rookie for the Houston Texans. He's been, I think he's had 23 targets over the last few weeks since Davis Mills has taken over as quarterback because of the injured C.J. Stroud. So hopefully that continues when C.J. Stroud returns, which I think should be this week. Then the next waiver wire target I have for you guys is going to be Chris Rodriguez from the Washington Commanders. I think I'm completely out on JCM right now. I think he's looked really bad in the abundance of opportunities he's had over the last few weeks. I think even if Jaden Daniels comes back, he is not going to look good. I think Chris Rodriguez is probably the better option if you are even willing to have a running back from that team right now, especially without Jaden Daniels. But he is my guy from that team's running back room. And then this is an injury-related one. Andre Yoshivas. T. Higgins, like I mentioned earlier in the episode, T. Higgins is out this week with a concussion. Yoshivas, I think, obviously we know that the Ravens are going to definitely game plan for Jamar Chase. So I think because of that, Yoshivas might be a sneaky solid pickup off waivers to help your team hopefully win this week. Now, lastly, we've got the panic levels after week 12. The number one guy is Saquon for me. I mean, Saquon has had a rough year in general, but kind of seeing this play out the way it did against the Dallas Cowboys, I'm not entirely sure if this was a game where just it kind of got away from them. But the Cowboys made the addition of Quinnen Williams, right, at the deadline. They said they wanted to stop the run, right? Last week, they played Quinnen Williams. I believe that was his debut for the Dallas Cowboys. And, they were able to stop Ashton Genty, 7 yards rushing on 6 attempts. And then the Eagles, they played them this past week, and they limited Saquon to 22 rushing yards on 10 attempts. Now, again, here are my thoughts on that. It could just be that the Cowboys now can really stop the run, but it does raise some questions for me because of the fact that, again, Saquon has not been himself this year. If we look at his stats, Saquon has, I believe, only had one game this entire season that he has had over 100 rushing yards, and that was against the Giants a couple weeks ago. He had 150 rushing yards on 14 carries. Other than that, his highest rushing total came in week 2, where he had 88. He had 83 rushing yards in last week's game against the Detroit Lions. But other than that, I mean, he's had 2 games above with 60 outside of those 280 those 2 games with 80 rushing yards. So he's had 4 games above 60, 5 games total above 60 rushing yards all season long. Again, 1 of 60, 1 of 88, 1 with 150, 1 with 60, and 1 with 83. So Saquon has, on 185 carries this season, he has 684 rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns. He's just definitely, compared to what we saw last year, he is an absolute shell of himself. So because of that, Saquon is pretty damn close to a 10 out of 10. He's a guy that I think you kind of have to start him in your fantasy lineups because it's Saquon Barkley. But be honest, he's not a guy that I'm confidently starting anymore. That is for sure. Very, very high on my panic level for Saquon Barkley. Jordan Addison. I think last week I had Justin Jefferson, but this week I got Jordan Addison. I'm just going to start taking turns on Vikings receivers. I think this is just a bad offense this right now under JJ McCarthy. George said it best last week, give the kid another year maybe, and he'll kind of grow and become a better quarterback. I just think right now it is very, very, very high panic level on a guy like Jordan Addison. But yeah, I mean, it's you kind of don't know what to expect week in and week out with that Vikings offense. So, and obviously with the struggles of JJ McCarthy, we are already not confident. We are already not confident in Justin Jefferson's production. So Jordan Addison, a guy who's not even going to see the same volume as Justin Jefferson, very, very worried about his fantasy production going forward as well. And lastly, I talked about it a little bit. But Lamar Jackson, again, I think it's more so of like a him not looking like himself. Not really super highly panicked on Lamar Jackson, but it's just the low production on the rushing, the low production in the passing over the last few weeks, and then the fact that he just doesn't necessarily look like a fully healthy Lamar Jackson. He doesn't have the same shiftiness. Right now, and I think for that reason is why I'm a little bit panicked on him. Not full blown, but definitely a little panicked. But those are my panic levels after week 12, guys. Now, you guys know, usually we end the episode with a podcast parlay. We're not going to be doing that this week because it's just me. So we're going to keep it chill. It's usually we talk about the Thanksgiving game. This week there's 3. So I just got to say that I hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. We've got 3 football games to watch on Thanksgiving, so very exciting. And then we've got another one on Friday, and then obviously the rest of the games on Sunday. There are no buys this week, absolutely 0 bye weeks this week. So we are going to have 16 games this week. And then obviously, like I said, 3 on Thursday, 1 on Friday, and then 12 more on Saturday, guys. Super excited for this week's NFL action. We're going to have so much to talk about in next week's episode when George returns. But like I said, I hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. Very thankful for you guys who support the Figures of Sport podcast because it truly means the world. So one more time, guys, I'm going to ask you to do me a huge, huge favor. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok. We post so much content there all the time. If you don't have time to watch the full-length videos, we post so many clips there throughout the week, sometimes more than 2 or 3 a day even on those pages. So there's so much content on those pages for you guys. It really means the world to us that you are interacting with those pages and following us and supporting us. You guys mean the world to us and to me especially. So thank you guys for catching episode 83 of the Figures of Sport podcast. We will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.